Hello and welcome to Cliff Reviews Art House. This time I'm reviewing Triangle of Sadness, directed by Ruben Östlund. Now I think that Ruben Östlund is a very talented filmmaker. In all of his films there are moments that I really feel he's achieving something very special. However, for me, I find that his feature films always have some inconsistencies in them. I've previously seen both Force Majeure and The Square, and they have so many positive things about them, things that I really love. He creates such interesting characters, great dialogue. His films are very naturalistic and always involve interesting situations around human weakness. But in both these films, I really have the feeling that the film lost its way at a point. It doesn't maintain what it creates. His film Involuntary, which contains 5 short stories, and his short film Incident at a Bank, these are his most successful works in terms of consistency. I think his short films are better than his features. By the way, Incident at a Bank is available to view on YouTube. It's well worth watching. Perhaps these inconsistencies in the features are just the way Östlund wants it. I'm sure he knows what he's doing. It's definitely not incompetence. But for me, these films really fail because they lose their way. Triangle of Sadness is another perfect example of this. We start off with some really interesting scenarios. The male modelling scenes, the rich people cruising on the luxury yacht. These are really compelling setups. I was instantly hooked in right from the start with the photographer working with the models. The same on the boat. He created such amazing scenarios, and there were so many different places he could have taken this. All of the actors were great. I particularly enjoyed the characters played by Woody Harrelson and Zlatko Buric, whose performance I'd really enjoyed in the Pusher trilogy. I think Östlund has a similar intuition to Tarantino for choosing great actors that fit his roles perfectly, and there's definitely something of Roy Andersson in his films. These features were really apparent in Triangle of Sadness. But for me, the second half of the film just goes in such a ridiculous direction. Östlund seems to love scenes that go completely over the top. The ape scene in The Square and the vomiting scene in Triangle of Sadness. Maybe I don't have the right sense of humour for this, but I just found it silly. The island sequence, while still keeping me engaged, just doesn't have the same level of interest as the first half of the film. I think that both Triangle of Sadness and The Square go for very obvious targets. Contemporary art in The Square and despicable rich people in Triangle of Sadness. And what happens on the island is the obvious story. It's not totally uninteresting. In fact, I did still quite enjoy it. But for me, it fell so far short of its potential. I found the ambiguous ending not very satisfying. It didn't feel like the film had given me enough to enjoy the ambiguity. Not so much the scene on the beach, that fits with the obvious story that developed, but rather Carl running through the bushes in a desperate manner. This just didn't work for me, or went completely over my head. Overall, I think this film is okay. It's worth watching, and 2.5 hours passed very quickly. Perhaps I'm being a bit harsh on Östlund, but I do feel as if he's so talented and yet often falls short of his full potential. Thanks for watching. See you next time.